Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's eSpeaks, we're talking about what's driving the robotic process automation market, issues and challenges in the RPA sector. To discuss that, I'm joined by a major industry expert. With me is Brandon Deere, Chief Strategy Officer at UiPath. Brandon, absolutely delighted to have you with us today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, James.
You know, it seems like it's got to be a hot time in the RPA market because there's so much going on in terms of the artificial intelligence. I've never, in my many years covering enterprise IT, seen a buzzier topic than artificial intelligence is now, and of course, RPA rides that wave. From where you sit, as you survey the RPA market, what are a couple of key trends you see driving things this year?
I think that there's been a building amount of hype around AI for the last 6 or 7 years. I think now there's a set of technologies and a robust set of enterprise functionality to really bring it home for the largest of enterprise customers. And so I think we're seeing a punch behind the hype that's occurring in the market right now. Mm-hmm. There's a few major trends that have begun to bubble up as we approach the halfway mark in 2023 here. I think to level set on what those trends mean for the automation market and our business automation platform as a whole, I think the viewers probably need some context on what UiPath does.
Give us the background if you would.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, and the truth is, the company and our product suite has evolved a lot over the years beyond kind of the core orchestration and studios and robots, which is kind of the nomenclature that I think maybe most of your listeners are used to hearing when they think of UiPath.
Right.
Our platform today actually has many different layers within its suite. And so we always talk about, the 3 layers being a discover, automate, and operate. Within the discover layer, this is about continuously uncovering opportunities for processes and tasks and improving to help you identify the highest ROI areas by which to actually go automate something. So within discover, we have process mining capabilities, task mining, communications mining, a lot of mining, but
right.
Ways in which you can systematically pull data out of core systems of record and think about, hey, based on what I'm seeing in terms of movement of data across an application or when a human actually comes into the flow, what can I do to better automate that task based on the data and the spread I have across my organization? In the second layer, the actual automate layer, this is about getting more done with your digital workforce. And I always talk about it in terms of seamlessly integrating the combination of both UI automation, so the user interface, which is really the computer vision core of where UiPath got started in understanding certain objects and elements on a screen and being able to mimic human behavior with those objects. So, strokes on a keyboard, strokes on your keyboard, clicks on the mouse. Marrying that UI layer with APIs, which, API integration has been around a long time, but combination of UI plus API, I think, is a really powerful advent in today's world.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, all these things intuitively make a lot of sense. It's, taking the actual problem that exists within the organization, getting the technology to a point where it's enterprise ready, and then married in the two so you actually have a solution. And that brings me to the last piece here is, the operate piece, which is all about enterprise grade foundational functionality that allows you to run and optimize all of your mission critical businesses and your program at scale. So this is, all of the bare bones, hard to build stuff that a sysadmin sees or your center of excellence owner sees in analytics, testing, unified management and governance, flexible deployment means, this is the foundational stuff that you really need to run these things at scale. With that, so that's kind of a quick rundown on the existing core platform that exists today.
Sure. Okay, that's the context.
That's the context. Now to the question. In terms of trends that I'm seeing in 2023, I spend the vast majority of my time with customers out in the field.
Right.
And I think the things that have really come clear to me and have been validated by the executives that I spend time with, there's many. I think we're seeing reduced budgets in customers all over the world. Every industry, every size of customer, there is a mandate out there to reduce costs within their companies. You know, we're in a high interest rate environment. There's supply chain issues. We know all the headlines. And
Is
I
it
think
labor costs? Sorry to interrupt. You mean specifically mostly labor costs, or another sense of costs?
it's all facets of their business. Yes, payroll is up, but discretionary spend, if you want to, you know, hold an in-person event somewhere, you know, flight costs are up, hotel costs are up, costs of meals is up. So if you're entertaining guests, and you're seeing it more and more in earnings announcements, you know, the actual cost of software and managing that software is up. Microsoft raising prices. Salesforce announced a few weeks ago that they're raising prices across their platform. So, you know, literally costs are just up globally, and it comes through in, you know, all calculations of the inflation metrics that are being reported by, you know, industry reporters and analysts. And you know, with that, plus high inflation and, you know, the cost of capital being higher, I think a lot of companies are seeing potential pressure on revenue, or at least not having as much visibility to the revenue that they thought they had, and mandates are being put out there by board of directors, by executive teams, saying, hey, you know, we need a plan over the next 3 years to take out, you know, X $100 million. These are, you know, very large organizations. So, you know, it's pretty uncommon that I go into a conversation these days and, you know, ask a CXO, so, you know, what are the priorities for the organization? One of the top 3 things is, well, you know, we have a revised budget, and we've been mandated that we need to take out $300 million of cost over the next 3 years. It's a big ask.
A lot of emphasis on cutting costs is what you're hearing. Yeah,
Companies are being forced to do more with less. And it is not one particular industry. It is not one particular region. I see it across the board. So that's theme number 1. Along the same lines, although somewhat distinct and separate, I would say that there's a great reprioritization of technology. You know, customers and companies are shifting their focus to a smaller set of core technologies, core IT projects and programs, and prioritizing those that are mission critical or are true platform plays. You know, so, you know, every CIO, every CTO that I talk to, you know, they've got 4 or 5 programs that they know over the next, you know, 2 to 3 years are absolutely must have. In years past, they might have had dozens of projects, or, you know, dozens of different, maybe even hundreds of different end applications and point solutions that they were running. And they're saying, you know, given the mandate of item number 1, we need to consolidate. We can't have all of these point solutions running all over the place, and, you know, shadow IT and, you know, unfettered spend. We need to take control, and we want to do it with vendors that we trust. We have a good relationship on one hand, or if there's not a great relationship, we want to do it with people that have robust end-to-end sight of our environment and that we want to create a strong relationship with. And the last theme that I'll mention, James, ties to, you know, your first point around you know, this hype wave of AI. I don't think it's actual hype anymore. I mean, I do think that there is a bit of inflated expectation relative to where we are, but there is real punch behind AI in the enterprise today. And I see organizations of all forms and sizes embracing AI. And I think that's the first time that this is actually happening at the enterprise level. Every conversation I go to, you know, CXOs want to know, how can I use AI in my organization? And so, you know, it's not surprising that at UiPath, everything that we're delivering has an embedded AI layer across our entire platform suite. And I think that the way in which we've been successful in doing this is actually creating solutions that bring together both foundational models, so generative AI, which is at the tip of everyone's tongue today, along with specialized models. And so things that are using, you know, your own proprietary set of data, training models based on that data, and deploying it in a flexible manner for the customer, such that it's actually a lot faster, more accurate, and cheaper than general models. I think people that have single-threaded themselves on pure play general models are are learning that it's actually quite expensive to do that. You don't need something that understands everything to solve really specific use cases. If you're a company that is a healthcare provider or a healthcare payer, or there's a whole number of very specific sectors, specific forms. You don't need these super big, powerful models to solve that specific pain point for you. It's just
you're talking about large language models. You don't need this large, all-encompassing large language model. You can go more of a niche-focused language model.
Yeah, and you can actually train special. I call them specialized models, but you can train specialized models actually using some of the great learnings and inputs from general models. And we make those tweaks. We provide those specialized models for, I forget how many different form factors today, but a large and growing number. And we provide those out of the box to our customers, and that's a really powerful solution. And again, it's all about time to value for the customer, ensuring that the ongoing cost is not so high because you're not bringing so much power to something that in of itself is quite small, and it's a higher degree of accuracy. And so that's really resonated with the market today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about those companies that have an RPA deployment. They're using RPA in any number of ways. It may be going really well. For some of them, they might be facing some challenges. What is your advice to some best practices? How should they optimize their RPA deployment as you see it?
I think there's a lot of customers that are at an inflection point right now, and I know the question isn't around AI, but AI is actually acting as a trigger point here for most of these organizations.
Sure.
They're looking for ways.
I think it's right.
Yeah, I mean, listen. At the end of the day, every company is looking for ways to find efficiencies by automating routine tasks, of course, but increasingly they're looking toward ways to marry automation and AI to go beyond just cost savings and to drive growth, delight customers, create better employee experiences. I mean, that's something that I think in a post-COVID world, as we have these hybrid work environments, has become critical in terms of how companies both attract new talent, but also retain their top talent. Employee experience is a vital OKR in a lot of these businesses. And so I think it's no longer actually enough to just deploy automation into your back office and business processes. I think that was a really great way to get low-hanging fruit, really easy to quantify ROI with customers in like 2016, 2017, but the technology landscape has evolved a lot. The needs of organizations have evolved a lot. The demands of customers and employees has evolved a lot. And I think now that you get to a point where you're trying to scale and leverage different types of inputs to reduce costs, of course, but also create better experiences. And I think that it's an interesting turning point in such that it just so happens that all of these amazing technologies have now hit the market, and it's up to your board, it's up to your management team to find creative ways by which to leverage this stuff in a way that is wrapped as a pure play solution. You don't have to go necessarily build yourself. There are people who are doing this for a living, who are developing these technologies for a living. And so I think that's where we play a pretty vital role for our customers. Beyond just deployment, I think there's something really to be said about how companies set goals for their automation programs. I think, many times executives implement a technology like this, they get some really good savings off the back, but they don't treat it like a true business outcome. They don't set goals to incrementally improve those savings. Mm-hmm. And what I've seen in the accounts that I work with is, the companies that really reap the greatest rewards are those that assign a KPI to their automation team.
They're tracking it. They're not just doing it; they're doing it and tracking it.
Yeah, because anytime you're saving money, if if you're saving some amount of dollars and the savings is greater than the amount that you invested, you feel pretty good about it. It's like I think an interesting analogy is like it's like your wealth advisor. Mm. When the market's up and things are going well, and you get on the phone with your wealth advisor and he says, "Hey, you're up 10% on the year, and the investments we made are going, well, you say that's fantastic. It's kind of hard for you to say, well, we made 10%, but how can we make 11%? How can we make, because you're getting some good news and you don't want to push, you don't want to over optimize, but that's a personal thing. When it comes to running a company and cost of capital is high and you have all these other restraints around you, actually that next level of detail, that optimization is required. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is actually not setting that incremental improvement metric around their automation needs, even when things are going well. My dad always told me growing up that it's best to fix the roof when it's sunny out.
Right, makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have talked about the RPA market, and you certainly talked about UiPath and some of the advantages. Let me ask you a question, because I've written a lot about the RPA market, and maybe I'm thinking of that 2019 model myself. I think about RPA is fantastic in terms of doing office automation. You're saving that office manager is the software is doing a lot of jobs he or she might have done. What's the new image? And you've talked about it a little bit with your 3 layers, but what is the new image that is not simply like office automation? That like what the current day UiPath, what does that look like as opposed to the 2019 UiPath?
The current image is a full stack business automation platform. And it encompasses all your needs around discovering the automations that your organization needs to bring, actually building those automations, and then managing them at scale. So often, I walk into, name your Fortune 500 company, and I say, hey, Mr. CXO, I hear you guys are just getting started here, and it sounds like you had some really good success with your early deployment. How can I be helpful? And they say, listen, I know that there's manual work all over the place. I have 10,000 employees in this country and X thousand employees in this department, and I get 1 million emails a week, and we're spending all this money on all these different applications. So I know the opportunity exists, but I need someone to show me what to go fix, what to go transform.
Okay, analyze the system.
Analyze the system, analyze the actual work that's being done. What are my people doing every day? What applications are they touching? Where is data moving to and from? How much time is being spent? What are the bottlenecks? And I think the old way of doing this was, you would bring in like an outsourcing team, and someone would document a bunch of processes. They'd understand, what that process looks like, and then they try and re-architect the whole thing. With a new set of processes and a new set of systems and a new set of people. I think the beauty about what has evolved today is that you don't need to transform your entire organization. You don't need to create new processes. You can just automate on top of what already exists in your environment.
Okay, that's a key point.
I think a lot of people have gone through the ERP, rip and replace and migration, all the customization that takes, it's these decade-long projects that, millions of dollars of services and software. This is digitizing systems in days and weeks. And it's systematically going through and understanding, based on data within your own environment, what are the highest leverageable opportunities to automate. And so I think, the new image is, our new tagline is foundation of innovation.
Okay.
And so it's this movement away from just pure play like cost cutting, and actually about, agility and speed and accuracy and traceability within your organization. And I think when you take into account, all the components, process mining, task mining, communications mining in the Discover layer, all of the new feature form within how we allow developers and business users to build automations, and how we've lowered the bar in terms of requirement for them with things like artificial intelligence, so that you can take natural language and actually transpose that into a pre-built process for your customers. I think you take all of that and you've got something that has kind of eliminated all of the excuses as to why your company needs to exist in the way that it does today, why those mundane processes are still there. It's become too easy to build, too easy to monitor, and too easy to operate at this point.
Well, I think it's a very compelling question that companies are wondering about is the future of RPA. We've seen that it's, the RPA market is not the way it was in 2019. It's far different in 2023. What's it going to look like, say, 2026 or so? What do you see as the future of the RPA market?
Well, we have a bunch of really exciting announcements coming out at our Forward event in Las Vegas this October. I think it's the 9th through the 12th. It's an amazing event. We have like 4,000 or 5,000 people there. Our largest customers, largest partners, sharing case studies. The full executive team is there. So for those who are interested, and it's a great showcase of all the new things that are on the come. I can't spoil all the surprises, but
Sure. Right.
as themes across our offerings, I think you'll continue to see a few that stand out. I think you'll see more tightly integrated services across all of our offerings, so that the experience and the cohesion and just the end-to-end experience is more seamless. I think you'll see a deeper level of solutioning to serve particular industries and processes more effectively. This is kind of what I was talking about some of the components and specialized AI. Like, we want to get deeper within the industries that we think matter most in the economy and to our customers. And so I think that will be another thing. I think you'll see stronger partnerships with technology behemoths, like the one actually we recently announced with SAP that we're all really excited about. I think that's a great win-win for our mutual customer bases. And of course, AI embedded across all of it to maximize outcomes for our customers, making those products more reliable, faster, and easier to trace value.
Brandon, I think you said it. It's going to be an interesting sector to follow in the years ahead. Thanks so much for sharing your insight today, and hope you come back and talk with us again sometime.
Great. Thanks so much, James.